Joining us is political analyst Prof Bheki Mngomezulu on the phone line. Professor Mngomezulu, a warm welcome to you. A very interesting story since yesterday when we got to that announcement of the president now putting together that Judicial Commission of Inquiry. But if we just had to unpack the statement itself and perhaps start at one of the pertinent points for me is that he wants to broaden the scope of that inquiry, whereas we've received a response from Thuli Madonsela said no, it needs to be within the confines of her state of capture report, what she went on to investigate, which was him having ceded his power to certain individuals.
No, thank you very much, Mfundo. Indeed, this is a very important development, not just for President Zuma as a person, for the ANC as a political party, but for the country as a whole. Because from the ruling party to the opposition parties to the nation as a whole, all of us have been waiting in anticipation the appointment of such a judicial commission. And the idea of widening the scope is basically to try and avoid a situation whereby you would have a commission which conduct its duty and then present its report only to find that there are still a number of questions that remain unanswered. So I think that the reason behind the president widening the scope is basically to try and avert the situation by making sure that we don't just confine the situation to the current development, but we go a little bit backwards so that at least we are able to get a holistic picture instead of zooming into the issue that is currently at hand. So I think it's in that context.
But Professor, here, many would say that is a great call by the president. I mean, even Thuli Madonsela went on to say that, yes, they need to be investigated. There was capture of the state pre-1994, and it must be dealt with. But specifically, this commission must deal with what she went on to investigate. Did he not perhaps miss the opportunity in that in his review application where he could have stated these facts that all I want is for them to broaden the scope? Because right now, how do you expand on the public protector's report?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's a couple of issues at play here. One is that when the president received the report of the public project report, he acted promptly without thinking seriously about the issue from a wider perspective. But then on the second thought, he realized that in fact it should have been better for him to argue that as much as we need the commission, but we cannot just have a commission that is focused on the current issue only, because the history of the issue at hand goes some years back. So I think that if he done that some years back, then obviously then it would have served him quite well. But then unfortunately, he missed that opportunity. So he's trying to correct that situation. And we can rule out the fact that opposition parties and some members of the ANC, by the way, will have issues within expanding the mandate and discussing that because they will interpret it as the way of the president trying to protect himself. Then from his side, he's saying that he's trying to avoid a situation where he even trade commission to investigate one and the same issue.
I hope I'm still hearing correctly because the audio is a bit not that audible. But nevertheless, if we had to go back to the other part, he talks about, at the beginning of that statement, while interrogating it, he talks about him appealing the cost order, good and well, but then he also goes on to talk about him appealing the powers thereof of a president in terms of him now having stripped of the powers, having to speak to Chief Justice Mogoeng to nominate a judge. Now, that part, he has gone on to implement the recommendations and goes on to appeal the very part which he has implemented. Does that not render then his appeal moot?
Yes, indeed, as I say, there is a little bit of a confusion because of the fact that on the one hand, the president decided to appeal the findings of the findings and the recommendations of the then public protector, and then when pressure was exerted on him, he then said that okay, he's going to appoint the commission, but then this didn't happen immediately. And from his side, he was saying that he wants to exhaust all the issues so that by the time he appoints the commission, he will know for sure it is going to do the job that it is appointed to do. But then there was even more pressure that in fact there must be a court ruling indicating that the president cannot be the one appointing the judge, given that he is also implicated. So it's a confluence of factors that came at play at the same time, which then complicated the matter. So right now, there is no way that will have a clear-cut approach to this whole situation, because it's already contaminated with a lot of other issues which would have not arisen had the decision been taken at the very time that the public prosecutor released his report. It's not that the public prosecutor released the report and then the president said, I'm appealing, full stop. Or if he said, okay, I'm okay with what the public prosecutor is suggesting, but then my suggestion is that we widen the scope. If he had said it at that time, we wouldn't be where we are right now. But then at the moment, it's very difficult because a number of other developments have taken place, and the president is trying to negotiate all of those at the same time. And then at the time when he's no longer the president of the party, and when, of course, there are discussions that there are people who are saying he must even leave the position of being the president of the country. So all of these things are coming into play then, and they are influencing his decisions at this point.
So, Professor, should he now perhaps be abandoning that appeal, since we're saying that he's probably rendered it moot by going on to implement? Because when I read his statement further, he goes on to explain that decision to say, yes, I'm going on to implement the orders because this matter of state capture has occupied the minds of South Africans for far too long. It's important that we move on. But I still want clarity on the powers of the president. Do you think perhaps in his defense that was a good move or good maneuver in that aspect, that he may still be concerned about the powers of the president's office, but he goes on to allow South Africans to have that commission of inquiry?
Yeah, I think that it's a balancing act. On the one hand, I think that the president is trying not to portray himself as someone who is disrespectful of the other sectors of government or of administration. Basically, he's saying that as much as I am prepared to implement the recommendations of the commission, but then I'm also concerned about the precedent that will be set by this particular issue. Because if this clarity is not sought, then it means that the next president might find himself in the same predicament. So I think that on the one hand, he wants to make sure that he's not seen as someone who's being disrespectful, but then at the same time, he wants to make sure that the president who will succeed him will not fall into the same trap. So it's a balancing act that is trying to negotiate here.
Now, Professor, in as much as you're a political analyst, I want us to delve into the legalities or merits of that appeal itself now. When you say that this could be setting a precedent, fair enough. But if we're talking about him perhaps being implicated in the Nkandla matter, he went on to say, I couldn't put a commission together because I was implicated, or it was going to also unpack matters pertaining to me. So is there merit in this instance, where at one point it was conceded that he was directly affected by the Commission of Inquiry into Nkandla, or at least the ad hoc committee that was looking into Nkandla, and then in this respect, you go on to appeal to say his powers mustn't be removed from him, even though he's mentioned?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Mfundo. I think that there are a couple of issues at play here. On the one hand, as a country, we follow the Constitution, and according to our Constitution, you are assumed innocent until proven guilty. But then the fact that you are implicated does not necessarily mean that you are guilty. So I think he's counting on that.
Yes.
But then on the other hand, the point you are making is a critical one, because if I am implicated, then I also appoint a commission, then people will say, all right then, the commission that I'm appointing, am I not going to make sure that those who are involved, who are included in it are the ones who are going to protect my interests? So I think that is where then we need to assess and look at the commission once it is constituted and see who are the people who are involved there, and then how were they appointed. If the credibility of those individuals is questioned, then of course we have a case. But then if those who are appointed into the commission have nothing to do with the president as a person, then I think we can just allow the process to unfold and then see how they are going to conduct their job, and then how they are going to present their report. If there is nothing wrong with the officials involved, then I don't think it will be an issue. But on the fact of setting a president, I think that is what he's worried about. Of course, we can debate that from a legal perspective, that how to implement something we have questions with. then of course those who are involved in the legal fraternity might be in a position to entertain that question.
And then on to the terms of reference. Yesterday, soon after the announcement, the likes of UDM's Bantu Olomisa jumped onto the question of terms of reference. We saw what happened with the arms deal inquiry, where many were complaining that the terms of reference, which we consider the Bible of any commission of inquiry, were not seeking to actually uncover what the public wanted. So here, for the benefit of our viewers, talk to us about the terms of reference and their importance in a commission of inquiry.
Constitutionally, the president has a prerogative to appoint a commission. That one is a fact. Then in terms of the terms of reference, whoever appoints the commission of inquiry is the one who is saddled with the responsibility to spell out the terms that will guide the commission. Now, the public will react on that, but then they will have no legal grounding to challenge that unless, of course, they go to court and say, we are not happy about the terms of reference as spelled out by the president, in which case then the legal arm of government will then be invoked and then will investigate the issue. But from a principled position, the Constitution allows the president to appoint the commission, and once he appoints the commission, he also sets out the terms of reference that will guide the commission, and then thirdly, he also indicates by which time the report must be concluded, and then that process is clear and straightforward. Then, of course, whoever is not happy about that process cannot go to the president directly, but can go to the legal fraternity, can go to court and then challenge the issue and say, on the basis of the following, we are challenging that. And then if that fails, then the Constitutional Court will make a ruling, as we've seen the Constitutional Court making a ruling on a number of issues, including the Nkandla issue. So, because that is the responsibility of the Constitutional Court to interpret the Constitution and see to it that it has been followed to the letter. If then something untoward...
Professor Mngomezulu, I unfortunately have run out of time. I wish I could keep you for longer to even talk about the timing of some of these announcements from the president, whether it's the free education and now to the announcement of state of capture inquiry. But certainly we'll continue this conversation throughout the day. More news and updates on the other side of this break.